Bonsoir à tous. It's Thursday, May the 14th, and this is our 23rd, 24th, I think, session of the nanofiction reading written by Patrick Baud. These are short tales in French that we read together, and it's very, very lovely to be with you tonight. I have a massive cup of tea. Outrageously big. It's my third. Today it's herbal tea in the British way. I learned yesterday that this is the British way of saying it. Americans would say herbal tea. So I'm going to use both so everybody's happy. And before we start, I wanted to check on a few things. First, the fantastic map that Richard has made. I mean, it's wonderful to see all of us together here, and oh, that's you, Owen. That's wonderful. And I love seeing all of us here everywhere in the world together, connected on this map and in the love of French. So I'm going to add the link below in the description. I haven't in the past 2 or 3 sessions, and I'm going to re-put it if you haven't put yourself on the map. It's absolutely lovely, and it just warms my heart, and I hope it does yours too, because we are in this together, and seeing a proof of all of us there is absolutely lovely. Also, if you have a bit of time, it's going to start 15 minutes after we finish this, but it's available for a week. The National Theatre is releasing a recording of the Barbershop Chronicles, which is a fantastic play that I missed, unfortunately, but I read the full script of it because I went to see another play by Inua Elams, which was an adaptation of Three Sisters by Chekhov at the National Theatre. It was in December. It was absolutely amazing, and I realized how stupid it was of me to have missed the Barbershop Chronicles. It is about I would say, how can I say that? I would say African men who either are immigrants in the UK or have been living there for a long time and are actually settled, or others in the African diaspora, and it happens in several countries in Africa and in the UK as well. And it's about what they talk about in this barbershop, which seems to be such a central place of their network and culture. And the book was amazing, and I bought it because I really wanted to open my mind to non-white French experiences. So that's why I'm really opening my mind to other non-French francophone writers as well, to really see other angles on life and on culture. And this was absolutely fantastic. I bought it after watching 9 Nights, that is about the Jamaican process of grief. And I went there with my partner, I think 1.5 years ago, and we almost didn't understand anything because there were lots of cultural jokes and dialectal expressions. So I thought, okay, next time I'm going to try to read the book first, and I did. And this one has subtitles, which was very helpful for Shakespeare, and really made me realize how much I don't understand anything when I'm going to watch a play by Shakespeare. But these ones are much more affordable, and they can be understood. And you have subtitles, so even if there's lots of dialectal English, it's super good. So if you have time and you're curious about that, the National Theatre is reading that for free, and you can give some money. I did every time I watched one. And someone, it was Owen who was talking about GoFundMe page for what I was doing. That's very, very nice. I'm extremely touched. But when I do something like the Nanofictions, I do really for free. There's nothing hidden there. It's my pleasure, and I'm happy to do it for you. And if you want to contribute to Comme une Française and my work in general, join a course. And the closest you can have to the Nanofiction, which on top of that is in French, and it lasts 1 hour. It's Le Salon de Géraldine, and our next session will be on Monday. And we have a lovely vibe there, and the students are absolutely awesome, and we talk about topics in depth, just like what we're doing here. So join us. It's 29 euros a month, and I'm going to start giving it a vibe that is closer to what we've been doing in the Nanofictions. I'm going to keep the same topics all in French, but it's like a group of friends now in these readings of the Nanofictions, and I really want to take some time in Le Salon to acknowledge all of us and just allow some time for chatting as well. So that's my plan for Monday. And again, if you want to support Comme une Française, join a class. And on top of that, for your money, you're going to have a real course. So, okay. I hope you're doing great. You have a glass of wine, maybe a coffee if it's the morning, or a tea, or a glass of water. Maybe you're outside in the garden or inside. And we are going to take this 25 minutes to learn some French together. So let's start with the first tale. I titled this session today Under Your Bed. First, it's about a story about the end of the world, and the second one is about a monster. So I hope you don't have nightmares tonight. Let's read the first one together. Are you ready? 1, 2, and 3. Pour passer le temps, ces deux immortels se livraient à une partie de cache-cache qui durait depuis des siècles. Vint le moment où... Oh, there's a mistake here. Boo, as my son would say. Not this one. Où. So it is the où of where. Vint le moment où il ne resta plus que et les ruines de l'humanité. La maison dans laquelle se planquait l'un des deux s'effondra. Trouvé, s'exclama l'autre. So this is a bit poetic, but it's also a little bit sad. Putting my notebook in my drawer because it's taking too much space. Let's concentrate on the first sentence together. So we are going to start by rereading it and try to find the liaison, okay? Take some time to think about that when you're saying them and think, okay, here I think there is une liaison. 1, 2, 3. Pour passer le temps, ces deux immortels se livraient à une partie de cache-cache qui durait depuis des siècles. I found two liaisons. Did you find any? Think. So we have ces deux immortels. A liaison again is when you have a word with a silent consonant at the end. For example, deux. And after that you have a word with a vowel. I never know how to say this word. At the beginning. And you have to make the consonant appear. Deux immortels se livrait à une partie de cache-cache qui durait depuis des siècles. Okay, that's good. Pour passer le temps, it is to pass the time. Exactly like in English, it is a neutral expression. It's not vulgar or elegant. It's okay. Pour passer le temps, ces deux immortels, those two immortals, ces deux immortels, here ces, it is those. Remember, ce, cette, and ces, it is this or those. When you are showing it, and by the way, a funny trick, you have to do this with me, okay? You take your left hand, and you do a C with it, and then you show something. And this is a trick for the French students to remember that when you're showing something, the shape that you make with your fingers, like your index and your thumb, make a C. Okay? And this is a trick to say that when you're showing something, ce, c'est is with a C. So that's a trick for the French students at school. So again, when you're showing something with your left hand, you use your index and then you let your thumb loose. And this is ce. Ce, it is with a C. And ce, it is his. His, her. His, her. So, yeah, I wanted to show this trick because very often people don't think about that, but it's a bit difficult because when we teach that to students, it is to French-speaking students, so they know the language and they have to learn how to write it, which is not your case because you're learning this as a foreign language. So this is a trick for French students. These are those. And just for those who are beginners, set is what we use before a masculine noun starting with a vowel. Okay? For example, we say ce cheval, but we say cet après-midi. Okay? This horse and this afternoon, even though après-midi is masculine, just so that it sounds better. Okay? That's it. Ce and c'est. Deux immortels, two immortals, se livrait à. Se livrer, it is when you are fully committed or you're giving yourself to something. What's the interesting se livrer à? This way you can see better, not deliver. Se livrer à is to give. It can be to surrender, to give yourself up, to give yourself. So it is to give yourself to something, but it can be also to surrender. For example, par exemple, let's be more light. Le voleur de bonbons s'est livré à la police. Il a rendu les malabars. No, let's use carambar because you might eat those. Les carambars et est rentré chez ses parents boire chocolat chaud. Okay, let's be light. There's no need for a real bad thief. Le voleur de bonbons s'est livré à la police. Il a rendu les carambars et est rentré chez ses parents boire un chocolat chaud. Ouais, okay. Le voleur de bonbons, it is the sweet thief. The thief who stole sweets, which is a bit tricky to say, s'est livré à la police, surrendered to the police. Il a rendu les carambars. Carambars are a French sweet, which is, when you read it, obvious. It is caramel in a bar. Et est rentré chez ses parents, boire un chocolat chaud, and went home to his parents, drink a hot chocolate. But se livrer à is also to give yourself to some, give yourself for example, here, when we say ces deux immortels se livraient à une partie de cache-cache, une partie de cache-cache, it is a game of hide and seek. We talked about this in a previous tale. Le cache-cache, it is the game of hide and seek. Hide and seek. So they gave yourself 100% to the game of hide and seek. They were not thinking about anything else. They were not doing anything else. They were dedicated to that. Se livrer à is really to dedicate yourself to something. Qui durait depuis des siècles. Durer, it is to last, which lasted for centuries, which has been lasting for centuries. Durer, it is to last. And again, à une partie de cache-cache qui durait depuis des siècles. Again, here you can see that when we're expressing since or for a period of time, we don't conjugate the verb like you do in English. Okay, so it is a difficulty for French-speaking people who want to learn French, and it's difficult for you as well. Depuis des siècles, for centuries. Depuis des siècles, for centuries. Un siècle. It is, oh, sorry. It is a century. Okay. Let's repeat that together again. Pour passer le temps, to pass the time, ces deux immortels se livraient à une partie de cache-cache qui durait depuis des siècles. Okay, so these people are immortal and they're playing hide and seek, and they've been doing that for centuries. Vint le moment où il ne resta plus que et les ruines de l'humanité. Vint le moment où il ne resta plus que et les ruines de l'humanité. Here it is kind of a poetic way to say the time came. Because he could have written le moment vint. Le moment vint où il ne resta plus que. And you can see that the tense is le passé simple, obviously. But because we want to be more poetic, we see came the time, vint le moment. And I assume you have the same structure in English. So again, you don't have to remember this structure in order to use it because it is extremely formal and poetic. But if you see it, you will remember that this is what it means. Came the time when, and it is a literary way to say it. Came the time. Here it is vint at le passé simple, venir at le passé simple. Vint égale venir au passé simple. Le moment, the time, the moment, où. And in French, when we're talking about time, we say where, we don't say when. It is not vint le moment quand il ne resta plus que. It is vint le moment where, où il ne resta plus que. This is a bit difficult. If you're a beginner, you can forget about that. But if you're not, try to think about it and look in your grammar book maybe to have the proper explanation. But this is a very, 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 very common mistake I see a lot where students use quand on purpose, like it's a good intention, but it's wrong. We are going to use où. Il ne resta plus que. Rester, it is to stay, and here it was they were the only ones left. To be left. So they were the only one left. Il ne resta plus que. There was only them. Okay, here it is que eux. Okay, but because you have two vowels, it is que. Et les ruines de l'humanité, and the ruins of humanity. Because they are immortals. At some point, everybody is going to die, except them. And they keep playing hide and seek. Let's reread the sentence and try to find some liaison. Vint le moment où il ne resta plus que et les ruines de l'humanité. I don't see any liaison here. La maison dans laquelle se planquait l'un des deux s'effondra. Trouvez, s'exclama l'autre. La maison dans laquelle se planquait l'un des deux. La maison is the house, and here the verb that is referring to the house is s'effondra. S'effondrer, it is to collapse. And just like to collapse, it can be about a building, and it can be about a person, it can be about a civilization as well. Okay? But here, dans laquelle se planquait l'un des deux, it is a description of the house. Dans laquelle, in which, dans laquelle, dans is in, laquelle is which, se planquait l'un des deux. Remember, here we have plus que, l'un des deux is one of them, one of those two, one of those two. Se planquait. Se planquait, do you know this? Se planquer, it is se cacher, it is to hide. And this is what they're doing because they're playing hide and seek. Se planquer, it is se cacher. And plaquer, do you know what this is? Plaquer, it is to break up with someone. To break up. And it is familiar French. It is not vulgar, it is just familiar. Plaquer, it is to break up with someone, but it is more to leave. But it can also be to live a life or a lifestyle. For example, j'ai plaqué mon boulot et je suis partie faire le tour de la Corrèze à pied. So I left my job and I went to do a tour of la Corrèze, which is a French department, on foot. Why not? That makes sense. Trouver, trouver is found. S'exclama l'autre, said the other. And here you can see a structure of how we write dialogue, and you find this in books, okay? Let's reread the entire tale. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Pour passer le temps, ces deux immortels se livraient à une partie de cache-cache qui durait depuis des siècles. In order to pass the time, those two immortals were dedicating themselves, or they were all in, a game of hide and seek that's been lasting for centuries. Vint le moment où il ne resta plus qu'eux et les ruines de l'humanité. Came the time when they were the only ones left and the ruins of humanity. So everything's destroyed because the society collapsed. The society is collapsed and humankind has disappeared, but they haven't. And there are still all the buildings around them, but they're still playing hide and seek. La maison dans laquelle se planquait l'un des deux s'effondra. Trouvé, s'exclama l'autre. The house where one of them was hiding collapsed. Found, said the other. It's a bit sad because it's all about the end of humanity, but maybe there are now lots of trees and they're having lots of fun, those two. And another tale that is about monsters, so I hope you don't have any nightmares today. Remember, it's just a tale, but I think tales have to be taken seriously, so they're much nicer this way. So, de page. Let's read it together. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Elle n'était pas revenue dans sa chambre d'enfance depuis 15 ans. À l'époque, elle était terrifiée par le monstre du placard. Pour exorciser sa peur, elle ouvrit ce dernier d'un coup sec. Rien. Sous le lit, le vrai monstre observait la scène, il l'attendait depuis tout ce temps. Oh, ooh. Check your bed tonight, okay? Check under your bed. You never know if the monster under the bed is waiting for you. Elle n'était pas revenue dans sa chambre d'enfance depuis 15 ans. She hadn't come back. Revenir is to come back. To come back. Elle n'était pas revenue dans sa chambre d'enfance. Honestly, sa chambre d'enfance is a little bit awkward. I would not have written it this way. Elle n'était pas revenue dans sa chambre. I would have written dans la chambre de son enfance. But that's not the best. But it's okay. So, in her childhood bedroom. Depuis 15 ans, for 15 years. For 15 years. And it's the same here. Depuis... what did we have? Depuis des siècles. For centuries. Depuis 15 ans. Okay, so far so good. Let's read it together again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Elle n'était pas revenue dans sa chambre d'enfance depuis 15 ans. 15 ans. Remember 15? How do you write this? 15. Like that. À l'époque, elle était terrifiée par le monstre du placard. How would you say à l'époque? At this time, I would say, but it's not very nice. At the time, yes, at the time. À l'époque is at the time. This is something that you can learn by heart, and I know some of you are taking notes. Take notes on that. If you want to translate at the time, say à l'époque, it is perfect. And by the way, just to remind you, there is an accent on A. Okay, here he might not have put it because it's a capital A, but you should put one. À l'époque. Elle était terrifiée. She was terrified by le monstre du placard, the monster in the cupboard. Le placard. I'm never completely sure how you say this. A closet, I would say. Cupboard, closet. Elle était là. À l'époque, elle était terrifiée par le monstre du placard. Okay, there is no liaison here. That's surprising, but that's true. Pour exorciser sa peur, elle ouvrit ce dernier d'un coup sec. Rien. Sous le lit, le vrai monstre observait la scène. Il l'attendait depuis tout ce temps. Pour exorciser sa peur. I think the verb is pretty obvious because you have the exorcist in English. So it is the same meaning, like to get it out. And la peur is the fear. Pour exorciser sa peur, elle ouvrit ce dernier d'un coup sec. Elle ouvrit ce dernier d'un coup sec. Ouvrir is to open. Ce dernier, it is this one. Do we have... Well, it is obviously the last one. The latter. Yeah, that is what I was looking for. Ce dernier, it is the latter. Le dernier, it is the last. Or the latest, which I found that took me a long time to understand. So, le dernier, it is the last or the latest. For example, you can say, God, I don't have any references. Okay, so I'm going to make this up, okay? Don't believe me. Le roi jaune est le dernier roman de Marc Jonas. This is completely made up, okay? Il est mort juste après la publication. I'm sure all the fans of Terry Pratchett would know what book we could write as an example here, or any kind of fan of any writer, but nothing comes to my mind at the moment. So I made those up. Et le dernier roman de Marc Jonas, il est mort juste après la publication. So here, there won't be any more. However, Sorcière est le dernier livre de Mona Chollet. J'ai hâte de lire le suivant, which is true. Sorcière est le dernier livre de Mona Chollet. J'ai hâte de lire le suivant. Sorcière is the, I think, latest book of Mona Chollet. I'm looking forward to reading the next. So we use exactly the same word, even though for one it is the last, there won't be another, and here it is the latest, and there will be another. So that's confusing for students, but I wanted to make that clear. D'un coup sec. Un coup sec. That's surprising. There's nothing? Yes, there is, of course. Suddenly, abruptly. Okay. Chambleau. No, it's not that. Suddenly, abruptly. Un coup sec. Suddenly. So it can be a sharp blow. For example, you can restart your TV by just punching it with un coup sec, which is not a good idea, but you see the meaning. And here it is more suddenly, abruptly. So it was in one go, without stopping, without hesitating, just in one go, un coup sec. And usually we say d'un coup sec, suddenly. Rien is nothing. Sous le lit, under the bed, sous le lit, le vrai monstre observait la scène. The true monster, the real monster, was looking at the scene. Observer is to look at something intensely. La scène. Il l'attendait, he was waiting for her. Attendre is to wait for. Depuis tout ce temps. For all this time. Depuis tout ce temps. All this time. So here, ce dernier is the latter. It is about the cupboard or the closet, which is mentioned here. And depuis tout ce temps, it is about the 15 years that are mentioned here. And I don't see any liaison. So let's read the tale together, and I'm going to help you translate to make sure everybody understands the plot. Elle n'était pas revenue dans sa chambre d'enfance depuis 15 ans. She had not come back to her childhood bedroom for 15 years. À l'époque, elle était terrifiée par le monstre du placard. At the time, she was terrified by the monster in the closet. So here we assume that it was a dream, and she was a little girl and she did not realize that it was her imagination. Okay, so far we think there's no monster. Now, 15 years later, she wants to make sure that she wants to comfort herself in the idea that her fear was a childhood fear. Pour exorciser sa peur, to get rid of her fear, elle ouvrit ce dernier d'un coup sec. In order to get rid of her fear, she opened the door of the closet abruptly, suddenly, in just one go. And here, because she is still a little bit afraid, because it was 15 years ago, but she's still a little bit of a little girl. Rien, nothing. So we can assume that she's relieved because there is nothing in the cupboard, and she realized that yes, it was only her imagination. She was a little girl, she was afraid of the dark. But sous le lit, le vrai monstre observait la scène. Under the bed, the real monster was looking at that. Il l'attendait depuis tout ce temps. He was waiting for her after all this time. So in fact, the monster was not in the cupboard because that was her imagination, but the real monster was under the bed. And this is scary because as adults, we always think that our fears are just childhood nightmares, but actually that might be true, and the fear is not where it should be. So this is what the tale is about. The fear is not where it should be, and that our fears from childhood might be actually be misplaced, and something else is waiting for us. So I hope you have a lovely day, lovely night, maybe a lovely evening. Bonne journée, bonne soirée, maybe bonne nuit. Try not to have too many nightmares. Why did I pick for you for tomorrow? Oh, it is a bit a story of the story of a sleepwalker. Oh, and the plan of the sloth for world domination. Yeah, I think I got that right. So I will leave this to you until tomorrow, and we'll meet up tomorrow at 7:15 p.m. Paris time. Don't forget that if you're interested in the map or joining Le Salon, which I highly recommend you do, You will find all the link in the descriptions. And also, if you're up for it, in about now 10 minutes, Barbershop Chronicles is going to start on the National Theatre YouTube channel. And it's going to be available for a week, and I will be watching. So have a lovely day, lovely evening, maybe a lovely night. Bonne nuit, bonne soirée, maybe bonne nuit. Et à demain à 7h15, heure de Paris. Salut!